we have Celeste with us to discuss Bill 2.
Right. Thank you for having me on again. It's unfortunate that Bill 2 is still going on, but I guess that's just like the new context of our lives now.
And so, what have been some recent developments that you would like to discuss?
So, I'd really like to start first and foremost by Jean Barret's announcement last Tuesday that he would be backing down on the sterilizing surgical requirement. So basically having gender-affirming surgery, which is inevitably sterilizing and like might not necessarily be wanted by all trans folks, as a requirement for full gender recognition, and also just like he also promised to quote unquote just fix all the other transphobic articles, although he really didn't interpret that well. So honestly, I don't know what he's going to fix. Like, it can be something, it can be nothing. Nothing has really been done at the Assemblée Nationale yet. It's more of a public commitment. So that's probably like the biggest news we've gotten. And apart from that, the trans community has still been fighting hard and hard against this bill. There has been many different protests around, including one around Concordia campus just today. So there really has been a lot that is going on in the community, and we are still just as alive and just as angry against Simon Jean Barrette and the CQ for introducing the most transphobic bill ever introduced in Quebec and Canada. I swear that quote I'm using, like, in a way, it's a famous quote now.
No, I hear you. I mean, it's definitely really backwards bill when it comes to the rights of trans people. And do you think that Simon Julien Barrette is acting in good faith or no?
Honestly, I don't think so. And that is like, it's very difficult for me to like phrase just why, but like, I think overall the consensus is that Jean Barrette really could not have quote unquote fucked up so bad without like it's impossible for someone to, like, in good faith just make such a humongous regression. It could be like, there could have been like a more like Jean Barrette probably just interpreted Article 1 and like the conclusion articles of the bill and nothing else. And that really, like, I feel like he purposely went down the cherry-picking fallacy route in order to just make the bill like as transphobic as possible while still being acceptable by rules of the law, which kind of backfired on him, which is now why he's like backpedaling and also just like performing damage control.
And do you think that he's gonna feel the need to be held accountable, or feel that that he needs to listen to the community, or is he gonna find a way to put a loophole in to create another version of and then add more articles that are more different forms of transphobia?
Honestly, I think the big thing is that I'm going to be quoting like something I was talking to a politician yesterday evening, and she told me that the thing is, Jean Barrette does not need the trans community or the LGBT plus community really just as like, since like quote unquote we're not like in his like voter demographic group, so in a way he can just freely dump us and like it won't really affect his like popularity because of just how his party just hinges mostly on more like rural and like conservative voters who wouldn't care about trans rights in the first place. They'd probably be the ones who like say shut up whenever I just scream that Bill 2 is a bad thing. It's because of this, like, in a way, Jean Barrette, despite us trying to hold him accountable, it's going to be very challenging for us to do so because there is no incentive for him to be held accountable. He probably would get re-elected nonetheless. Like, he passed Bill 21, which was pretty popular amongst rural voters despite how much we know just how fucked up it is. So it's just, considering just how like the Legault government has gone away with so many backward steps, especially so far to like Muslim women, and also like Anglophone speaking populations here with Bill 96. It really is very this really is like, I think many people can agree that this is like a series of like backward steps done in unison in a way. It's not something that the whole community agrees with, but I think that this theory has like a good bit of evidence behind it.
I get it. And what are some aspects of Bill 2 that Quebecers should be worried about?
I think really it's just like the thing is, I must first establish just how important it is to have identity documents which like actually just match your gender marker. The things like Bill 2 would still permit like name changes like for trans folks in the same way as the current system offers, which so I'm only going to be rediscussing about gender markers specifically. So the thing is, you need full gender recognition in order to function correctly in society in a way. Like if you're say a cisgender person and you don't really think about your gender all the time, it's not as big of a deal for you. Like your ID card says F and like you consider yourself female, like it's not something that you have to think of like every day, since you can just get away fine and no one will comment on it. But if say there's a mismatch between say your gender identity and like the quote-unquote sex which appears on your Medicare card, say like if your Medicare card says M despite the fact that you fully consider yourself a woman, that's like you're gonna get harassed for that if you claim that you're a woman. And like say if you dress up as one, you express yourself like in a more feminine way, it would also just get you in trouble, because of just how heavily society polices gender. So it's really, I feel like this is in a way why identity cards are so important. They help trans people's mental health, enable them to function in society, enable them to be integrated into society in an easy way that many cis people won't even realize. But for trans people, having matching IDs can really be life-saving. It can enable you to actually find good housing and good employment, things which many trans people without the correct identity cards or the correct ID information would really have trouble getting. So it's really, it is a pain.
So Celeste, would you in your opinion believe that these articles in Bill 2 are a form of microviolence from the state, from Quebec, towards the trans community?
I'd say very so. The thing is, it does not take away the ability to recognize your name fully, but just the fact that it purposely slipped. So the thing is, I think the package when it comes to the transphobic articles which affect all trans and non-binary folks is really just, it comes in two parts. So first is the requirement for sterilizing gender-affirming surgery to be restored, which really is something that the trans media has fought against for so many years until it was finally removed in 2015. It was part of the Centre for Gender Advocacy's original lawsuit against the Attorney General of Quebec. So it's really been something that we've been really fighting for, because it's fighting for its removal, just because of how devastating it is. It really is the biggest gatekeeper to full gender recognition, both historically and if Bill 2 gets passed in the future too. So I'll just give you an example. In 2015, before the reform was actually passed, the reform introduced by Bill 35 2 years ago, but which wouldn't get implemented until late that year. So in 2015, there were, I believe, 76 gender marker changes. Quebec obviously calls them sex designation changes, but gender marker makes more sense in a way.
Could you explain gender markers? I know as somebody you understand that, but maybe from people who are new to this kind of expression or terminology. Sorry.
Yeah. So the thing is oftentimes gender it's really not something that can be depicted within the binary or ternary or just within any within just a set of checkboxes, which is a little unlike what the government thinks, which is you can fit gender within 2 checkboxes, and in some other provinces and federally 3. So it's you need so basically, because of this checkbox-ish system, it really does not include everyone. Not necessarily not everyone identifies as female or male, as an example, and some people they might not identify as non-binary either. It really just, there are people who are going to be not recognized by any system of gender markers, which is why we kind of call them gender markers. They're markers in that they effectively tell the state what someone's gender is. It's basically the state's way of collecting data about something that honestly, I'm not sure if it needs to be collected, but it really can just, it's their way of classifying people, for sure.
Yeah, I hear you. And so as an advocate for trans rights, and as well as being a member of the trans community, what do you believe the next steps are especially when you think about holding the government accountable and actions you can take within the community as a decision maker and someone who holds power. What do you think is the next step?
Okay, the sort of truth is like, at this point, unfortunately, the CAC is really has like an iron fist over everything, and the big thing is that they hold like almost like a super majority at the National Assembly. So there really isn't like that much things that can be done. So I really think at this point, like the trans communities, like trans activist tactics, like so basically like it's much more just about like making sure like Jean Barrette cannot get away with things, like because we can't just bitch opposition parties to like help fight back against the bill, because it's impossible at this point. It's like it won't happen despite like that being something that like we can really dream of. It's not going to happen because the CAC holds a super majority almost. So like for example, if the media keeps on like making a storm about Bill Chu, I feel like Jean Barrette announced that he would remove the sterilizing surgery requirement just because of like the media firestorm which ensued just like the day of like the bill being introduced and beyond. Like it really has been such a powerful, the trans community has like united in such a powerful way against the bill, and that's really just like sounded the alarm so much that like for Jean Barrette it would not be like a politically acceptable move to continue. So I really believe that at the end, like it's more of a game of like putting humongous amounts of pressure on Jean Barrette and basically the CAC. So it's really difficult to put so much pressure, but it will really pay off at the end. It's just that like how much progress can be made using such pressure tactics, it can be very difficult to determine.
Okay, I hear you. So, and another question, if you had to share a message, with people who wouldn't consider themselves an advocate for trans rights, but who feel a sense of urgency or call to action after hearing about Bill 2, about those articles that strip trans community members of their rights, and they want to get involved, and they want to be part of that, of holding the government accountable, part of sending out a message, what would you suggest they do, and where would you suggest them to get in touch with, and how to get mobilized?
Yeah, so there's so many different things you can do. It's not something with like a single path, fortunately. So for example, you can go with, say, you can definitely join like one of the many grassroots communities currently fighting very, very strong against Bill Chu. For example, there are many hidden, more like underground communities which have been fighting, which have been like putting up flash mobs, just putting up like improvised like demonstrations here and there, just like really trying to just bring the attention to the fact that Bill Chu is bad through various means. I know some people have been doing graffiti, have been doing like collages, so many other things. Like there really is not a single precise formula to attack Bill Chu. And like if you want to like do the minimum, I'd say, you can sign the Centre for Gender Advocacy's petition against Bill Chu, which by the way will close in about a week's time, so you gotta act fast.
Okay.
And the Conseil pour la Liberté have been putting up this amazing website where you can actually email your lawmakers in just a couple of clicks, just by inputting like a few pieces of information such as your postal code. It really is something that I believe everyone who's like watching right now, everyone who watches this later, should do, because it really would just help put additional pressure on lawmakers, both from the CAC and from other parties, about just how devastating Bill Chu is. So those are just like some basic things. If you do benefit from being like somewhat wealthier, you can also donate to not-for-profits who specialize in trans rights. Of course, there's the center, we have a GoFundMe running right now, but of course there are other organizations as well, like Aztec, Project 10, so many other organizations which can help in this matter. So there really is like not a single one-size-fits-all formula for just helping the community right now, but there's multiple pathways where you should get involved. There are some which are simpler, which don't take up as much time. Others can take up much more, but it really is like, there's no single formula.
Okay. And so, could you like just say out the website that you were talking about for the petition? Sorry, to click to send out the emails to your local representatives?
Yeah, so it's run by the Conseil LGBT who created partially in collaboration with the center, and we just basically it's like a website you can find it many different places, like notably like I believe the center's pinned post has a link to it right now, so
Okay,
if you're
great.
watching right now, you can click there and it's really like a one-click email your lawmakers. It's really that simple. And afterward, there's like a page where you can like easily call your lawmakers as well. That will definitely also be very beneficial since it'll just enable, in a way, just being able to.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And so, like, maybe summarize a bit. Get educated, connected to the center, and get creative with your support for the trans community.
Yeah, so like that is like, I know it's very oversimplified,
Yeah.
but it definitely is.
Yeah.
It definitely is like a few ways you can get involved.
Okay.
For sure.
Anything you would like to add?
Yes, I just want to like also to quantify the devastating effects which you will very
Yeah.
likely have. Like, I want to give this example.
Okay.
In 2015, there were 76 gender marker changes in Quebec. In 2016, there were 526. You can imagine like this nearly six-fold difference it's very difficult to just imagine just how many lives would be positively impacted by just having easier access to just having gender affirming documents. You can imagine those 526 people, like many of them, they might not have had the surgery. Like, despite people always asking, like, have you gotten surgery yet? That's like not something you should ask trans folks, because a lot of times it's just asked way too often. It's not very polite, but like just the fact that like so many lives have been bettered by the removal of the sterilizing surgery requirement and so many other requirements. I just really want to make sure that Bill 2 is not like does not go backwards at all, which unfortunately I am somewhat pessimistic about the outcome of the bill,
Okay.
but the hope is that there is no steps back, because like we're not accepting like jumping 10 years backwards.
Well, thank you, Celeste, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for sharing your thoughts, your knowledge, and your experience, as well as being open for other people to understand or even misunderstand you. But
Yeah.
yeah, because often people have their biases and opinions, and this is from my perspective, this is a human experience, and it has to be treated as such. And your rights need to be protected, and hopefully, like, as a community, we can come together and unify that, and with an understanding that these are your rights and they need to be protected, and the government's held accountable as such.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to also just like, don't forget, like, trans people notice the word people, like, trans people, they're like, behind the trans community are like so many passionate people, people who just like, many of them like very passionate about their own rights, but others like just wanting to be able to like live just like anyone else in society. So in a way we're just fighting for like equality or equity. But once again, you just gotta remember, think of the human behind the camera.
100%. And why these unnecessary laws, right?
I mean, why would people attack trans rights? Like,
Why?
Honestly, there's no good reason except appeasing conservatives. But like, why would you bother appeasing them? There's no reason for that. Like just trying to like insert yourself against like gay marriage, trying to just attack like abortion rights. Like these things are things which will hurt no one. Remember, no one gets hurt. Yet these want to outlaw it. It's really nonsensical.
Thank you so much.
No problem.